Let's start a podcast about our mental health. For no good reason why, let's call it Mind Cake.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another slice of Mind Cake
Mind Cake?
with him.
Lee Crompton. And him?
Paul Beeson.
He's back.
Yeah.
Survived a second potential sacking. First of all, it was Amy Alexander, and then Erin Crompton.
Yeah, Erin Crompton did a fine job, I thought.
She did do a very good job. She was going to send you a message the other day, actually, because, again, I have to apologize to our handful of listeners in that my brain, I think since I've got to 50, maybe a bit before, has gone a bit off piece where I can't remember things that I've just said to you in private, things that I've said in a like social media post, or things I've already said on the podcast. So I'm going to say that apologies if I have already said this on the podcast before, but the kids are in To Sort Your Life Out with Stacey Solomon.
Oh, I don't think you have said that.
And one of the things that when we were in this house, we found that they had 68 toothbrushes and 162 pairs of shoes, or they headline whatever the sort of what's it is. Erin had 420 books in her bookcase.
Wow.
One of which was Shark in the Park.
Fabulous.
And no, that's one of the ones she wanted to get rid of.
Oh, fair enough.
So she was gonna. I think mainly because she knew of your involvement and just to taunt you more than she didn't actually like it.
I mean, fair play.
So, but she didn't. She didn't send you a voice message. Should we cut all that out? It was a bit shit, wasn't it? Yeah. Other than that, well, yeah, I'm good. Yeah. Did you ask me that? I don't know what the question. What was the question?
How are you, mate? Are you well?
I'm good. Really good. Really good.
Awesome.
How are you?
I'm
Other
good.
than colder, because you haven't got any. You've got less insulation on your bonds.
I do, yeah. I had a haircut, like I alluded to in our little apology video that went out the other day.
We got
so I did
trouble, didn't we?
Oh yeah, we did.
The trouble is
the copyright.
The problem is that I know I'm waiting for that knock on the door, because I know that there was also an episode with "I've Got a Little Something for You" by Emanate, if you remember, which is still
yes, that's right,
still at large. Now they haven't, obviously. Boy George's lawyers are hotter than Emanate's lawyers because they've not caught up with us yet.
Yeah, I would also wager that Boy George and Culture Club have a bigger listenership these days than Emanate do.
Well,
they were a bit of a apart from you in the Crompton household who listen to Emanate
hang on,
at least once a day.
Whoa, back up. Says the man who'd never heard of what was the song called?
Irony. Church of the Poison
Church
Mind.
of the Poison Mind. Had never heard of it. Had you heard of "I've Got a Little Something for You" by Emanate?
I had, actually.
No more questions, Your Honour. Case dismissed.
Yeah. So, well, let's be honest. If Emanate come knocking on your door,
how many of them was there?
I don't know. There wasn't 8 of them, surely.
Emanate, no.
Because it was, I'm pretty sure that's what they're, it was like a letter M, an N, and a number 8, right?
And you're so excited about that, you seem to be removing your house coat.
I'm removing my little fuzzy
house coat.
I've got a little something for you. It's a lawsuit.
Knock at the door. Anyway,
hello.
Shall we get into this week's episode, which was
yes
raised this week's guest was proposed to us by none other than John Hannah, not that John Hannah, the other John Hannah.
Ah, right. Our John Hannah.
Ah, John Hannah. Yeah, no, you're still waiting for that knock at the door, aren't you, from the other John Hannah?
The other John
Oh,
Hannah.
don't say you nearly said actual John Hannah then, because he's
I
still
nearly did.
yeah, nearly he nearly said it. But yeah, so this was suggested by a listener. So you spoke to Kit.
Yeah, Kit Birks. That's who we are chatting with, or well, who I am chatting with this week.
Mm-hmm.
And she was brilliant, a brilliant guest, and truly an inspiration. I think it's worth pointing out before we get into this episode, just as a warning to some listeners, that there are stories and themes which touch upon drug addiction and suicide in this episode. So it's just a little warning for you all. But it's a very positive episode, a very inspirational episode, and I hope that you get as much out of it as I did.
Excellent. Let's dive in.
All right, folks, here we are with another slice of mind cake. And tonight I am so chuffed and privileged to be joined by Kit Birks. Hello, Kit. How are you this evening?
Hi, I'm very, very well. Thanks, Paul. How are you?
I'm doing away. Not too bad. Now, Kit, I have been today looking at your Instagram profile and seeing the kind of stuff that you are getting up to at the moment. I don't want to spoil too much because I want to let you talk about that, but you are a mental health advocate. You are
Yes.
a writer, a poet, soon to be published poet,
Yes, soon to be published poet. Yeah.
and soon to be record-breaking hiker as well.
I know.
So
There's a lot going on.
there is, and I'm so excited that you're here to talk about it all. But before we get to all the stuff you're doing now, can you tell us a bit about yourself, where you came from, what your personal journey with mental health has been all about?
I'm from Hampshire, England. So I was raised in a lovely, loving family. So, very lucky in the way that I was brought up with two parents that are married, still married, brother, sister, tight unit family growing up, no childhood trauma, no triggers, no nothing like that to set me off. But from a really young age, from about 11, 12, I started to have things like insomnia and started to just generally struggle with things like depression and anxiety. And from the age of about 13, developed anorexia. I was anorexic and bulimic from a young age and was put on antidepressants from the age of 13,
Wow.
14. Really, really struggled with that and was really, really unwell with anorexia, taken out of school, could only really come in to sit exams when needed. It was actually really crippling. And the school I went to wasn't very accepting of it. I was actually taken into the headmistress's office and was told, you don't have a problem and you're not allowed to speak to any of your friends about this.
Oh my
And,
God, that's
and she,
unbelievable.
she said that I could only eat my meals in like the medical centre. It was so an already really secretive disease was kept even more secretive. And it was just really awful and really bad, to put it lightly. But I decided to leave that school at sixth form. And I was starting to get better with my anorexia. It was starting to get a lot better. It wasn't amazing, but it was, starting to get a bit more manageable. Through that whole time, I'd been going to a lot of therapy, doing CBT. Yeah, was kind of starting to get there. Yeah, so I went to sixth form and I was still really skinny and really unwell, more with the bulimia side, still struggling and still not knowing how to manage it. And I think nobody at that time was like, oh, she's doing okay, but, not doing really that well. And it's so weird to think back then that it still was a topic that was still very much not spoken about. You didn't really know where to go to for help. And you kind of kid yourself into thinking that you're doing better than you are, I guess. So yeah, it was a weird one at that age, and that was sort of the age that I started to find drugs and alcohol, mainly at like weekends. And I found, I guess, quite late on in life, you could say. From some addicts, you might think you kind of finding it at maybe 14, 15, but because I had anorexia, I was way too scared to consume the calories of alcohol. And I guess because of my anorexia, I didn't really know how to let loose. So I was given a license basically at that age to let loose with alcohol, drugs and alcohol. And I was someone that it was never one, it was always oblivion, which at that age, it's just, oh, that's just fun. You're someone that is having fun. The consequences of your actions aren't that deep or that bad at that age. But as my kind of progressed into my 20s, it's when things started to get way, way out of hand. And I was drinking far too much, went to university, had a really traumatic event happen to me, and it just led to drugs and alcohol being something that I just took every day, all day. Started to act out really badly, lying to my family, hurting those around me. But it wasn't known that that was the problem. It wasn't like, oh, she's an alcoholic, she's an addict. It was just like, she's behaving awfully and this is, what's wrong with her. And that's what I thought myself. I thought, why am I acting like this? I don't know why. And it turned into a lot of poisonous years. There was a time where I did remain abstinent for a while. I just thought I'd have a bit of a problem. So I stopped taking drugs and alcohol for about 9 months and then thought, oh, yeah, I'm okay. And one thing led to another. I got triggered by a massive episode and I got diagnosed with PTSD. And that's when my using and drinking really started taking off again at the age of about 26. And at that time, I was training to be a nurse and I actually just stopped my training. My relationship ended because of it. I moved back in with my parents and things just got a lot worse at that stage. At that stage, I moved back in with my parents and I kept all my drinking. I was with a really lovely boyfriend at the time before this happened, who kind of was so supportive through my PTSD. But he started to realize I was replacing all the bottles of gin in the house with water. My behavior was so out of line all the time drinking, and he was someone that didn't drink. And so my excuse was he doesn't get it. He's boring because he doesn't drink. Bless him. Yeah, so I moved back in with my parents, and they could tell that things were getting really out of hand. And I remember being upstairs and on the driveway where my car is. My dad was looking in my car, which is where all the empty bottles were, all my paraphernalia was, and I thought they're gonna have an intervention. And that idea was so much scarier than stopping drinking and drugs. I got into my car the next morning, for some reason drove to Cornwall.
Wow.
No idea why. Drove to Cornwall, went to stay with a friend, and then I couldn't stay at hers because she was going somewhere and I didn't know what to do. So I was sleeping in my car for a while. My car got broken into, was homeless for a while, started living in really bad places. But for me, it was like, this is amazing because no one's telling me I'm living with people that are using like I was using. And that last year of my active addiction was the most horrendous time of my life. My family had no idea where I was.
So you weren't in touch with your family at all during this time?
Sporadically, really sporadically, but most of the time not. They didn't know where I was most of the time. They didn't know what I was up to. Most of the time, I put them through hell on earth. I stole their peace of mind, is what I tell people. That is the biggest thing I stole from them, was their peace of mind. That year, it was a year of, my whole life was drugs in all its forms, waking up and using every single day to oblivion, and multiple suicide attempts to the point of dying and being brought back to life. It was just absolutely horrendous. And I went from living in Cornwall, Newquay, to then going up and living in the Hebrides with my boyfriend at the time, who was also an addict. Basically, things got way out of hand up in the Hebrides, and I ended up having to leave the island after a year of my family not really knowing where I was. And I remember I was on the ferry. I was by myself. The relationship had ended, and it wasn't won't go into it. It wasn't good. I left and I got on the ferry and I phoned my dad and mum, and they were like, "Where are you?" And I was like, "I'm on a ferry going from the Hebrides back to Oban." They were like, what are you doing up there? And I was like, things are bad. I've had written off my car, drink driving. It's just so bad. My dad and my mum, bless them, were like, right, well, how are we going to get you home then? How are we going to get you home? And I was like, what? Like, after everything, I had no money. So my dad was like, right, I've got you a hostel in Oban, I've got you a train, and I've got you a coach to London, and then I got you a train. And he said, you're staying with your sister in London for the night. I was unrecognisable. I was puffy from all the drinking. I had bruises everywhere, cut, like it was awful. Eventually got home to my parents, still drinking, still using, to the point where like it was just so bad and I just couldn't stop. And I think up until this point, I didn't think I was an addict. I just thought loads of bad things had happened to me and therefore I had an excuse to behave the way I was. I couldn't pinpoint the fact that it was the drugs and alcohol. But when I got home to the parents, my parents, so they were like hiding all the alcohol, like hiding the keys. And I like, as soon as they left the house, I was ripping up places. I realized, oh, maybe this is a problem. But also what was really bad is that I was, again, like properly suicidal, and the crisis team for the UK, my parents, like, we don't know what to do, like, we'll phone the crisis team. It took them 2 weeks, that was the crisis team.
Wow.
To get back to me. And it was just, there were so many problems there, like 2 weeks for a crisis team just to get back to you for initial calls. Like, well, if someone's, at that point, luckily I had people around me that wouldn't leave me, they wouldn't leave me alone. Anyway, eventually I just got to this point where I was like, right, I don't know how I'm going to live anymore with the drugs, but I also don't know how I'm going to live without them. Like, this is really hard. Like, how am I supposed to do this? And I had a friend from school who I followed on Instagram, and she kept on posting like milestones, like 6 months, 8 months, years. And I was like, what is this? And I reached out to her normally when I was obliterated, being like, I think I have a problem. And then I'd wake up in the morning and think that's an awful idea. But it just got to this point where like there was no booze I could get to, definitely couldn't get to any drugs. I was drinking like mouthwash and like nail varnish, and like,
Oh my God.
I was like, this is mental. So I remember messaging her and she was like, right, I'm calling you tomorrow. I'm going to take you to a meeting. Okay. Like, no excuses. And I remember writing a note to my parents, almost like as a way I couldn't back out of it. And I wrote this note and I was like, I think I'm an addict. I really need help. I'm going to get help, I promise. And I put this note like in front of their like bedroom door. So when they opened up the door the next morning, they'd see it. And I was like, and they saw it and they were like, yeah, no shit, Kitty. Like, of course you're an addict. Like, but the thing is like with addiction, it's a self-proclaimed disease. Like, people can tell you, but unless you're ready to say it yourself, you're not going to do anything about it. But anyway, I went to a meeting the next day, and then since that day, on June 2nd, 2022, I've been clean, which is nearly coming up, well, 3 years this June, which is mental. But yeah, so I've remained clean and work a program of recovery to stay clean. I realised there were still things wrong, so I got later that summer, August, I got diagnosed with ADHD, and then kind of continuing through my recovery, I realised, and even with had the ADHD diagnosis, which made sense of so much, I was still going through like peaks and troughs and still feeling really suicidal. And I remember speaking to people, and throughout my life, I've been told this, which is why I can't. They're like, we never know which Kitty. Well, I'm Kitty to my family. We never know which Kitty we're going to get. And I was like, okay. And, I'd speak to people about these ups and downs, and I was like, yeah, it's just normal to get yo-yos. But I was like, no, but I go from like feeling like I'm on top of the world to like suicidal. I don't get what's going on. And so I got eventually diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And as hard as that was, oh my God, was it the biggest relief. It made sense of addiction. It made sense of my eating disorder. It made sense of the insomnia. It made sense of the depression and why none of these other medications worked, because it was all the wrong medication for what I had. So I guess that's been my journey with mental health. And although it's still a struggle and it's not plain sailing, I know all the things I'm dealing with now. So I kind of have a good little structure about how to deal with those things.
Mhm.
So that's I guess in a nutshell, a very big nutshell. That's my
Yeah,
journey.
that was a coconut shell, that wasn't it?
Yeah.
What a story. Well, first, thanks for being so open and honest about it. I know that's something you pride yourself on. You are very open and honest about your journey. And so, well, thank you for sharing, first of all. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 29.
You're 29.
Yeah. Yeah.
The big 3-0 this year?
It is. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I know.
Exciting. When you were going through this stuff at school, and it was very much kind of kept secret, with the eating and hiding your meals and the medical. We're not talking about a huge amount of time, are we? Because we're talking about 15 years ago.
Yeah, 15 years ago.
And before we hit record tonight, we were talking just in passing about how mental health is talked about more, which is a really good thing. But like we were saying, we still don't think it's enough.
Hmm.
And you're going back such a short amount of time when it was literally being swept under the carpet.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
as a young woman, that must have been really tough, I guess. Like, you just kind of felt you weren't being acknowledged or listened to, or
It felt, yeah, it felt really like, I think a lot of it felt belittled. Like you're making a big fuss out of nothing.
Mhm.
So why speak about this? There's no point in speaking about it. And I guess a lot of it was even when I ask for help, it's not going to be received. I'm not going to get given the right support. So I should just keep more of this to myself. And I
Yeah.
think I adopted that. And I think a lot of it was if other people aren't going to help me, how can I help myself? And I think I also tried to develop this I can fix everything myself, which
Mhm.
was never going to be the answer for so many problems. Yeah.
Totally. And I suppose you think, well, why bother even asking if I'm not going to get any anyway? It kind of puts you in that frame of mind, I suppose, as well.
Yeah. And I think also it makes you feel weird or like not, I mean, weirdness is good. I love weirdness today, but it makes you feel like there's something wrong with you and therefore like you're diseased. Like, don't speak to your friends about this, almost like me speaking about it to other people would spread it onto them, would
Mhm.
encourage them to do the same thing. When actually sometimes you just need to speak to someone about it. It's not
Absolutely.
infectious.
And being a teenager as well, you've got so much stuff going on
Yeah, yeah,
as
there's
well, and being made to feel different at that age and stage is not what you need on top of all the other shit you're trying to deal with.
no, not at all. And it was so I think it was really difficult. And I had some really great friends who were there no matter what and would I wasn't even allowed to I was told I wasn't even allowed to text my friends at this point we're talking about flip up phones and like you can play Snake on a Nokia brick so it was just text messages
Mhm.
it's like no you can't even message your friends about this and obviously it's like well no one's going to police all the phones but it's just that it was just mental it was
Mhm.
just mental that you can't talk to your friends about any of it.
And in those days as well, obviously with the technology, it's not like you could easily just hop online or watch YouTube or
No.
as shit social media can be at times. It is a good way of finding information out and realizing you're not alone, perhaps for young people today, if it's used
Yeah.
sensibly, of course. But again, that's something that we didn't have access to. And then, so another couple of things as well. I'm just want to make sure I didn't mishear you. Did you actually die?
Yeah.
Did your heart stop beating and you
Yeah.
were resuscitated?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was a massive blow. It was a overdose. And do you know what was so crazy about? I remember seeing this in my nurse training
Hmm.
with a lot of people that had overdoses and might have been kept on a ward overnight if they'd been resuscitated, brought back to life, things like that. It was such a quick turnaround to get them out the door with very, very little follow up or
Hmm.
support. And I just remember that being crazy. And then being that person as well. that went through
being
that
on the other side of it. Yeah.
on the other side of it. And it was such blur. But I remember leaving hospital and the first thing I did was go and take more drugs. Addiction is pure insanity. And you look back and there is nothing other than to describe it that, then you will go to any lengths to keep using. It's pure insanity.
And after actually dying, it's still not enough to
nothing
put
can
you
put you
off.
off.
Yeah.
No, you just not like nothing will put you off. I've heard so many different other stories, and what's quite comforting now is hearing these other stories from other people that aren't my stories to tell, but it makes me feel like, okay, other people, this is the nature of the disease, this complete insanity that so many people go to crazy lengths and go to death's door multiple times and it's still not enough to stop. Yeah, that was probably one of the craziest things, but that was also very much an intentional plan at the time. Yeah, that it was a very dark time. And only something recently that I've had to speak to my family about because of this trek. I was like, I'm gonna have to. There was so much that happened that I've never told them about because I thought I'd never need to tell them. Yeah, that was one of the moments. I was like, well, it's going to come up because this is what this whole trek is about, to speak about these kind of things more openly. But yeah, that was a scary moment. But at the time, I look back on it now, that's scary. At the time, I remember it being like,
whatever.
Okay.
Just another day.
Yeah, I remember hardly even phasing me. Like that feeling of that didn't scare me. Like it's a weird feeling. I remember that year, this feeling of it's almost like living in limbo constantly. It's a really dangerous path to walk where you don't care if you live or die, because therefore you don't care about any of the actions you're taking. You're walking around almost like you're invincible because you don't care what happens to you either way. And that is the scariest thing. And also repercussions that I'm seeing of it now, like financially or whatever, because I thought, well, I'm never going to see 30. I didn't think I was going to see 30 at all. I really didn't. I remember having a conversation with people when I was living in Cornwall, like, all right, I probably won't see 30. I don't think I will. So you just don't care. So you make so many crazy decisions that you have to live with today. But yeah, very dangerous place to live, not caring. And today I care, which is good.
But luckily you are going to be 30 fairly soon.
October 19th.
Well, there we go.
So I'll be somewhere in the world at that point.
Of course. Now we'll get on to that. We'll get on to that very soon because I'm so excited to hear about that. So if we fast forward a little bit, so you're back with your family, getting help or accepting help.
Yeah.
When did the poetry come into this?
Really, really soon in my recovery, actually. So I hadn't even got to 30 days clean. I was detoxing at home. Horrendous experience. Very well taken care of by my mum and dad. They were incredible. And I remember this feeling of, how am I going to make sense of myself? I don't understand myself. I don't understand how to face reality. I don't understand how to face my past. And I certainly didn't know how to face my emotions. I'd numbed out emotions for about a decade. And I was like, I just don't, and I can't remember the moment, but for some reason, I remember, well, I don't remember, but I do remember, must have reached for a pen and paper, and I just started writing. And some of my first poems I've never really shared because they didn't really fully form, but one of the poems I did first write was one about how the weather keeps changing in my mind. And that was the first poem I ever wrote. And I kept on writing and kept on writing, and it became my way of healing in so many ways, my own personal way, which was, without anybody else, of how I could make sense of what was going on inside my head and like get it onto paper in a way that seemed more acceptable than me saying out loud, I feel like I don't want to exist anymore, or I felt like that.
Mhm.
It's like a more sort of, I guess, abstract and I guess beautiful way of painting a picture
Yeah.
of harsher scenarios and harder feelings. Yeah, I just started writing, and then eventually I started sharing them on Instagram and on mainly on TikTok, and just kept sharing them on there. And eventually, more and more people started hearing them. But it only really started taking off on TikTok before Christmas this year.
Had you written poetry before, like when you were younger, or this was just a out of the blue, I'm just going
Com-
to start writing and see what happens kind of thing?
yeah, I've
Oh.
never written before, never written any kind of poetry before. No, no, it's not where I thought my life was heading
Mhm.
at all. I mean, it's really started as a hobby, because during my recovery, I went back and I actually I finished my nursing degree and qualified as a nurse,
Oh,
which,
fantastic.
which was awesome. I was like, wow, but which was really cool. But I was doing the poetry alongside it and just loved it. And now I'm, yeah, wanting to give it a go as a full-time thing, full-time
That is
gig.
that's amazing. I did something similar. So when I was diagnosed with severe depression when I was teaching, and so I actually left the profession. And it just so happened a friend of mine was casting for a kids show, and I thought I'll maybe give the acting a try again, because I trained as an actor when I was younger and then became a drama teacher. And so I went from being like a severely depressed teacher to touring this show, like this kids show. So
Oh
I
my
was
God.
suddenly an actor, and that was kind of good for my recovery and my kind of my way to process what I was going through. But then I sat down and I wrote a one man show based on my experiences and what I was feeling. Now, maybe similar to your early poems, I don't think I'll ever perform it or let anybody read it even.
Yeah.
But it was so cathartic getting all of that out, not just getting it out and putting it on paper, but in a poetic way, in a creative way. And it was just like a stream of consciousness at times. And then suddenly there was, 100 pages of just, ah.
On it's, I guess, I think there's something about doing something creatively. It takes away this barrier of maybe the harsher reality and truth of it,
Mhm.
because you're doing it in a way that's so, it's a creation. I'm guessing that was what you, and it feels like it lets down something, is let in and let out,
Absolutely.
rather
And
than just saying it.
yeah, and because I mean it was all based on truth, and like my character in the play was talking about stuff that I had been going over in my head, or stuff that had actually happened to me. But in a way, there's still there's a bit of a separation there, because you're like, you are telling the truth about what you've done, and it's based on real experiences, real feelings and emotions. But if anyone was ever going to read it or watch it, it's not like you personally are sharing it. I don't know. There was something about
Yeah.
channeling onto the paper, and then if anybody then chose to read it, it was easier than me telling them face to face almost.
Yeah, completely. And I also, sometimes I thought, I can always burn the paper.
Yeah.
I can always
Yeah.
burn it.
Yeah. Can always wipe my hard drive, or whatever. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Nobody has to see it if they don't
No,
want. But
yeah.
it was a cathartic process, and I was between acting jobs that I just basically sat and I wrote, and that became a routine. And then after that, I've subsequently gone on to write other plays which have been performed, but that aren't about my experience. But that actually took me into taking writing more seriously, and now it's part of my thing. It's what I do now.
That's amazing.
But no one will ever see that first thing that got
First
me
bit.
into it. Do you know what I mean? They'll just see the nice polished stuff that I do with my little
Yeah.
theatre company. So, but yeah, I'm so pleased that you got into that, and it's just amazing that, having had no prior experience, or I mean, did you even have an appreciation of poetry or anything like that from from school
A,
or?
a little bit. Not from school. Not
Mm.
from school. I didn't really get into the first time I got into poetry, weirdly, I remember being on the coach that went from Glasgow to London.
Mhm.
18-hour, 19-hour coach. Well, on my way back down from the Hebrides, and I was on Instagram on the reels, and I mean, as you can imagine, completely out of my mind, but and in a really crying all the time. And Whitney Hanson, the poet, on Instagram, she's just and three of her poems just came out on my reels, and I remember being like, wow. And I remember some of them I heard, and I couldn't stop crying. And I was like, wow, this really like it hits and it lands, and like how. And I was reading under people's comments, and like they were like, God, I'm weeping here. And I was like, wow, this stuff is. That was my first. That was my only really look into poetry. But other than that, no, I didn't. I didn't have books of poetry anywhere. I didn't read poetry. I didn't go and look at performing nothing. Um,
That's amazing. Well, a couple of things there, like just the raw power, like the emotion of art.
yeah,
You know, when you haven't experienced that before, and suddenly, like, I don't know, you might look at a painting in a museum or listen to a piece of music, and you're moved. And
yeah,
I think for a lot of people go through their life and they don't get moved by artistic things.
no, no,
And you are so lucky, I guess, in a way, and I guess we all are because your book is going to be out soon.
yep,
But just again, you know, before we came on air, we were talking about cosmic alignment and stuff happening at the right time. That poetry found you when you needed to find it. You
like
know,
100%.
can you
And
imagine if all the reels were just like kittens falling off settees and shit? Do you know what I mean?
no,
You might have not.
might have never have found it.
But that's just it's crazy. Just a little exposure.
Yeah, can just suddenly give your mind that idea.
Yeah,
I just feel so lucky. Like, I would generally go through all those years of addiction again just to be able to write, because I don't ever want this writing to be taken away from me. It's like it heals me every day, even now. Yeah.
brilliant. And do you write every day, or do you try to write every day, or just when
Um,
the mood takes you?
I try to write every day. I have more of a routine now. I kind
Mhm.
of write every morning. Every morning I write, but that's only really been adopted in the last sort of year, where I've actually sat down and been like, right, you're going to write no matter what. Whereas
Mhm.
before it was more like, oh, I'll write when something happens. But then it would normally be me writing on like big emotions. And sometimes I don't want to write about big emotions. And I always carry a notepad with me. And a lot of the time I'll write down like sentences I overhear on trains or buses or train stations, amazing. Airports, fantastic. People
Mhm.
watching.
Oh, I
Or
love
even when
people watching.
people watching, like some of my poems are just about people watching, and I love those ones because they're full of like, and still, people comment on them going, God, this has really made me cry. And I think it's just that like human connection, just like we're all so similar, and painting a picture. So I love that. I love just like writing, always jotting down like little things or bugs I see, or trees that look like they're hugging, or whatever it's going to be.
So, judging by your social media, like you go out walking, you seem to spend a lot of time in nature. Is that consciously been part of your recovery, or is that something that you've always kind of had a draw to the great outdoors?
I've always loved nature. That has definitely got stronger in my recovery. It was sort of finding something bigger than myself to believe in, like a higher power, or a god, whatever you want God to be called. It doesn't have to be a religious God. I just remember being drawn to nature as a way of healing me, as something that was bigger than me, to help me understand that like I'm not the one in control here,
Mhm.
because me being in control has led me to being an addict. So there's got to be something bigger than me that can kind of help me stay centered. Yeah, like just nature is a way of me that it just makes me feel calm and at peace with myself, and it makes me feel like I can just be. doesn't really ask any questions, you know. The wind wraps around the tree the same way it wraps around me, you know, like, you know, it's just, you're just another piece of it at the end of the day. And yeah, I love nature. It definitely led me to sort of finding out my authentic self as well, because I didn't know who I was before I put down the drink and the drugs. And yeah, nature kind of gave me the capacity to sort of let down loads of barriers, I guess. And I love it. I absolutely love it.
And I guess, like you said, like that also inspires your writing, like just being out and about and seeing stuff, feeling stuff. That influences your writing.
I mean, we're all everything that happens in nature is what's happening to us. You know, nature goes through periods of wintering just like we do. I'm doing an immersive poetry workshop soon where I'm taking people out into nature and sort of saying, okay, how can we draw? And a lot of it's about I do it through envy. Like, why would I envy this tree? Well, this tree goes through like brutal winters where it gets knocked around by like wind and snow and like harsh cold with no leaves, but it completely trusts that spring's going to come and it's going to shoot beautiful green leaves. And it's just like we go through the same thing. We get battered around, we go through real crap in our lives and these huge moments of struggle, but we've just got to believe that through this process, like the wintering is part of growth and we're going to come out again and bloom, and sadly we'll probably have to go through it all again, but it makes us stronger and grow every single time, every single winter.
Absolutely. And still standing.
Still standing, yeah. Our roots are deep, it seems.
Brilliant. You know, because obviously I haven't read your book because it's not out yet. Can you tell us when it's going to actually hit the shelves?
So still trying to get an exact date. There's still some like little details that I wasn't 100% like happy with. And I think I've come this far, and as much as I want to be like, I just want to get it out as soon as possible, I'm kind of thinking, no, I want it to be something I'm super proud of. So, but it's going to be within the next 6 weeks. So it's soon.
Wow.
Like it is soon.
Have you seen like cover art and stuff like that? That's all been okay.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh, brilliant. I'm
Great.
really looking forward to get my hands on a copy and having a read.
I'm so excited as well. Yeah, I'm really excited for it to come out.
It's great. Your work is obviously very personal, and it talks about your own experiences, like past experiences and current experiences as well. You've maybe already answered this, but it seems, you know, putting yourself in that vulnerable kind of situation has been a great benefit. Do you find it difficult to write about your sort of vulnerability or these kind of experiences that you've had? Do you have to work on getting that onto the page, or does it naturally just kind of happen? Like, what's your sort of process, I guess?
I think it naturally sort of comes out. I think the topics that I touch on a lot, normally about the sort of addiction and suicidal feelings or suicidal attempts, or depression and bipolar and heartbreak and struggle and pain, are things that I get so much catharsis out of that. I think the more that I share about it and then I put out online, and the fact that other people resonate, it's amazing that they're there going, wow, this is amazing. I've completely relate and this is beautiful. I'm into it. Whatever. But them saying that, it then makes me feel less alone. It works both ways. It's a two-way street. And that's what's really beautiful. It's like, you know, the fact that I'm just putting it out there and then people understand what I mean. Because sometimes it's not, you know, put out there so black and white. I think, you know, that's not so difficult, but there are things that have happened to me. So I mentioned a traumatic thing that happened when I was 21, or different stages of things that I know have happened through loads of bad years in addiction that I've tried to write about, and I can't go there yet. I just can't. But that, I think, is just because I'm still on a healing journey with that within myself. Like there's a lot of like events that happened to me or with me, whatever happened, and I still can't go there mentally, so I can't write about them yet. So that's a struggle. I've tried to write about some stuff and I just can't, and that's okay. I think when it's ready, it will be ready.
Yeah. And if it never comes out, that's also okay.
Yeah,
as
exactly.
As long as you can heal in other ways, that particular event or trauma or whatever it might be, there's something really nice about it, just kind of letting it happen when it needs to happen. It's so organic.
Yeah, and it's meant to. I think if you force something, it's just like it doesn't sit right. And I think it's like this. Would it feel regretful then putting that? I think it's just, yeah, as you said, it's meant to be if it comes out. I think it's nice being vulnerable, but also realizing that there's a level of vulnerability that you've got to protect within yourself as well.
What advice would you give to someone who's, I mean, it's quite a vague thing to say, someone who's struggling with their mental health, because like I think we've already alluded to, it can affect people in so many different ways and there's so many different things. But if there was a springing off point, if someone was struggling a little bit, what advice would you give? It's a massive question.
The biggest thing I would say is speak about it. And I know that sounds so simple, but I spent years not speaking about it and not saying anything, worrying that it was too much for people to hear, or someone wouldn't understand, or is this going to be received well, or am I making this up in my own head? Like, are people going to be able to support me? And just realizing it really is okay to say you're struggling, and it really is okay to be like, I need help and I'm not okay and I don't know what to do and I feel like X, Y, or Z, or I feel like I don't want to exist anymore, or I feel like this, because I would really rather hear about someone's problems than never hear from them again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the reality of it. But I can't brush over the fact that some people might not have someone they can speak to. That is a reality for so many people as well. Not everyone has someone they can turn to and go, I trust you with these feelings. And the problem is as well is it's really hard with healthcare professionals because they're so overstretched and the demands within the NHS are so stretched. I can understand people's exasperation by going to ask for help and getting nothing in return, which is why charities come into play. There's amazing support out there. There's charities that have helplines, but also peer support groups where you can go and meet other people that are struggling as well. And I think that is where the magic happens, when you speak to other people that are going through the same struggles as you, people that actually understand. Because sometimes you can say, oh, I felt like this, and people really can sink into that with you as well. So that's where charities are amazing. They can really put you in contact with great people who really understand.
And I suppose that brings us on nicely to your world record attempt that is shortly coming up. And we'll talk about that a bit more in a sec. But one of the big things is that you are raising money doing this and awareness for a couple of particular charities, if I remember rightly. Do you want to tell us, first of all, what charities that you want to support? And then we'll talk about what it is that you're actually going to be doing.
The first charity is Calm, Campaign Against Living Miserably. So it's an amazing charity in the UK who dedicate their time and resources to suicide prevention and supporting those who have lost loved ones to suicide. So they do amazing fundraising events. They have helplines. They are generally an incredible charity. I've spoken to them on the phone in moments of crisis. They've helped me through many years of struggle. They're a growing charity whose support all around the UK is only ever expanding. And I think in a time where resources within public health are low, it's an amazing charity to use when you feel like you've got no one to speak to or nowhere else to turn. Yeah, I just knew that was just a charity I wanted to support. And the other charity is a charity called AUDHD. The CEO of it is my friend, Georgina, who set it up. As she's autistic and has ADHD. She is an amazing human being. She's gone through so much herself and decided to set this charity up. As someone that has ADHD, I don't have autism. I was like, I would love to support this charity. The work that AUDHD does is they give diagnoses to people. So free diagnoses and support. They do support groups, and also consultations, therapy, and their big thing is to try and aim at suicide prevention within the demographic of autistic and ADHD individuals, as that is a very high demographic of people with suicides is within people that have autism and ADHD. So those are the two charities I'm doing it for. They are amazing, and I can't recommend them enough to people who might be struggling.
Brilliant. So obviously the personal connections with both of those charities. And we'll put a link to those charities in our link tree with the podcast as well. So any
Great.
listeners who want to check them out can do so. Tell us about your completely bonkers record-breaking event. First of all, well, tell us what it is, but also, like, what the fuck, man? Do you know what I mean? Well, tell us what it is, and then we'll talk about the why.
Yeah, it's the first ever recorded track of its kind, which is tracking from the northernmost to southernmost point in Europe, which is Nordkapp, Norway, to the tiniest island called Gavdos Island in Greece. It's 8,500 kilometers, probably more, because I will 100% get lost as I cannot tell my left or right. Yeah, and it's mental. So it's called Stride Beyond Silence, Arctic to Aegean. So I'm starting up in the Arctic Circle and going all the way down to the coastal line of the Aegean. Yeah, so it's starting this July, and my aim is to do it underneath a year. Yeah, I'll be walking through it all. So it's going to be mental. I think it's 10 countries, Arctic, tundra, dense forests, Alps, mountain ranges, coastal paths. It's going to be crazy. It's all to strive beyond silence and to break the silence around suicide, make some noise and awareness around suicide prevention and mental health care, create some change, I want to create change and make an impact. Like I've been an advocate for mental health for quite a few years now, like using my social, even when I was an addict with other things, I spoke on my social media platforms about mental health, but there's only so much talking. Like for me personally, advocacy is an amazing thing, and there's always space for people to talk about it more and more and more. But I just got to this point where I was like, I want to do something. I want to turn this advocacy into activism, and like see if I can create a real change and make some noise and push for change within the UK healthcare system. So that's another thing I want to work on, doing a petition for that and all these things, and just make people feel less alone and know where to turn when they need help. And yeah, break the silence and make some serious noise.
Well, this is the perfect way to do it, because it's a massive undertaking. Like you say, the aim is to do it in less than a year. I mean, that is, I did some back of the fag packet maths before we came on. And if you were to take exactly a year, it's almost 25 kilometers a day or something like that.
Yeah. So it's worked out as 18-mile days with one rest day a week.
Mm-hmm.
And that still actually gives me a 30-day buffer for things like severe weather, injury, sickness. But there's going to be some times where I don't want to take a break in the week. Like, for example, when I'm in like Norway and Sweden, there's going to be time between refill places, like any form of civilization. I think the longest time I'm ever away from it is 7 days, and I don't really want to just sit in my tent for my day off. So I'll just keep on walking, but hopefully that will give me more buffer elsewhere.
Yeah. So when you get to civilization, you can.
Yeah, like around Christmas, I should be in Rome by that point.
Could be worse, couldn't it?
I know. I was like, this is quite nice. Thank you. So hopefully then I can take a few extra days off in Rome around Christmas.
Yeah. Now, like we said earlier, like you do spend a lot of time outdoors. You do a lot of walking. You love being in nature. But are you actually going through some sort of training regime to gear up for this? You're not just going to rock up to Norway and start walking.
Just with a pair of flip-flops and
a pair of Crocs. Yeah, it'd be fine.
Pair of Crocs, be absolutely fine. No, I'm my training right now is actually pretty brutal. I won't lie. Yeah, so at the moment I'm upping my I'm doing it in kilometers. I don't know why. I'm upping my kilometers every week. So at the moment I'm on 100-kilometer weeks. So
Okay.
as long as I get to 100 kilometers. So I normally do a big walk Saturday, Sunday. Monday's like rest where I just like stretch and do a little recovery walk. Tuesday, Thursdays are like big walk days, and then Wednesday, Fridays are strength at the gym and cardio, so running, and or jump rope. And then I'm just going to be increasing the kilometers all the time until I go.
I'm in awe. I started going back to the gym about 2 weeks ago, and I'm already fucking sick of it. I hate the gym, but it's the only thing that works for me. Like, you know, going out for running, you know, running, walking. It's nice to be out, but it doesn't actually help me like sort of lose weight or stuff. The gym seems to be the only thing, and I hate it. But
You hate the gym. You're well done for going, no matter what.
you know, so I totally my hat is doffed to you because that's incredible. Now, are you going to have a support team with you? Is going to be people walking the walk or doing stretches of the walk with
Yeah,
you?
so some of my friends are going to join me at certain stretches,
Excellent.
which is really nice. I'm sort of going. The hardest bit right now is sponsorship, because I've never done anything like this before, so no one's going to be like, okay. And I think I only announced it for the first time on February 4th, and then I went through this like frenzy of like just everyone, even the big guys like DGI and and like big clothing brands. Obviously it's going to take brands like that 3-4 weeks to get back to you. But I sent all these emails in the space of 3 days, and then on the fourth day I had a panic. I was like, well, this is over. No one's got back to me. I'm screwed. So I'm just trying to be patient with that. But I've recently set up, it was actually suggested, I put a video up on TikTok being like, right, I've emailed lots of people for sponsorship, probably missed some ones. Can people suggest any other brands in case I've missed them, which was really cool. And then loads of my followers on TikTok messaged me being like, why aren't you should set up a crowdfunder? That's what everyone does. And I thought, oh yeah, that's probably why have I not thought? So I recently set up a crowdfunder, and my whole thing is that for anybody that helps make Stride Beyond Silence possible, I've got a website coming up for it, and so there'll be like a virtual wall of support, so their name will go up on that. I'm also going to write everyone's name all over my tent, so I'm going to have a tent just like full of people's names.
Oh wow!
So then I can literally like carry people with me as well, which I thought would be cool. And then also I'll be writing poetry as I go from the trek, and then at the end of the trek, everyone that helped make it possible will get a printed, and then with a personal message of gratitude, a poem from the trek as well, just to say thank you. So I thought that would be quite cool, as well as having a flag, but this is totally different, to carry people's names on the flag on my rucksack of all the lives that have been lost to suicide, if people are willing to share that. So that's sort of where I've got to.
Oh, brilliant. It's amazing. You're going to be drawing so much awareness to this cause. If you're traveling through 10 countries as well, I mean 11 if you include where we are now, there's going to be a lot of eyes on you. That's a good thing. And this could potentially be book number 2 then, couldn't it, in a year's time?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna definitely, I mean, I'm gonna get so much inspiration, and it really isn't going to be easy. And I'm not going into this thinking, oh, it's just going to be a bit of a laugh. I know that there are going to be so many days where I'm going to wake up and be like, why am I doing this? What's the point? No, I can't do it. I can't do it. But this is exactly what the trek's about. It's literally a physical representation of what it's like to live with mental health. My point is that if you can take just one small step and see what happens, you might be surprised. You might be surprised what that day brings you. There might be a little slither of hope. There might be a realization about why you're doing this. There might be a little moment of beauty, and you think, oh God, I'm so glad I opened my curtains for 10 minutes today. So that's the point. And I actually had that. I went on a training walk 2 days ago, just on Tuesday, and I woke up and I was like, I was really, my whole body, I was absolutely fucked, to be fair. I was really, for the first time, I thought, I can't do this. I felt sick. I had a headache. And I thought, okay, this is perfect for training. Just get up, go. And I went for walking, and it was this beautiful walk in the woods. after about a mile and a half, I was like, oh, God, I feel good. And I started really getting a good pace going. I was like going along, and I walked past these two gentlemen, one in his about 90s and one in his 60s, father and son. They went, oh, we want what you're having. You're clearly the express. And I went, oh, and I laughed, they were like, is that camping equipment? I had my bag on. And I said, no. And they're like, what's in there then? And I said, bricks. I've got bricks in the bottom of my bag to help with the weight. And they were like, what are you doing that for? So tampered the pace back a bit and walked with them and told them I'm doing this trek from this place to this place. And they said, well, why the bloody hell are you doing that? I said, I'm doing it for charity. They told them the name of the charities. They said, oh, we don't know them. What do they do? And I said, oh, the whole aim is for suicide prevention. And both of them looked at each other and went, yeah, well, we've dealt with a lot of that in our family.
Wow.
I didn't pry. I didn't say, what's the name? Nothing. I just, I said, this is why I'm doing it. And they said, that's absolutely amazing. How can we donate? And I said, oh, just if you type in Stride Beyond Silence, Just Giving, you can find me there. But then, that is the day that I didn't want to do it. And I was shown the exact reason why I'm doing it.
Mhm.
So that was a pretty cool moment. And it's just, it gave me another lease of life. So I'm sure there'll be lots of that along the way.
Definitely. It's the cosmic alignment again, man.
Yeah, what's going on?
It's happening all the time.
It's so cool.
I mean, it's fantastic. And actually, when you're trekking with the tent with people's names on it, the flag with people's names on it, like every morning you wake up, you'll see these names on your tent, and that'll get you to pull the boots on and get it going.
So it just keeps. I've done marathons and stuff before, and I always like when you hit that wall, if you can think of all those people that donated or whatever, it gives you I'm doing it for all these people. I'm doing it for everybody, and it's like, okay, so every morning I'll wake up and I'll look around me and there'll be all these names in my tent. Exactly. And I'll be like, okay, I'm doing it for Janice in Wiltshire and I'm doing it for Heidi in Utah or whatever it's going to be. And it's going to be great.
Excellent. I've done a couple of sponsored runs for Maggie's Cancer because it's something that Maggie's Cancer were really good with Lee when he was going through his stuff. So whenever a sponsored, run 50 miles in May or whatever it might be comes up, I tend to do it. And I famously hate exercise, as we've already covered. But it is that thing. It's like when people have donated hard-earned money to go to these things, you're like, I've got to go do it. And it's that thing. As soon as I'm out the door and round the corner, I'm fine and I get on with it and I do it. It's that first step. But again, that's the whole point of what you're doing, is taking that first step, isn't it? And highlighting what that means. The
importance of that first step.
It's fantastic. Oh, fair play to you. You've had quite the journey, haven't you, in your young life? Would you say that you're a spiritual person, or are you more spiritual now than you were in the past, or are you quite pragmatic, or
not pragmatic? No, I'm deeply spiritual now. I've actually recently become a Reiki 2 practitioner. I'm very into that. I meditate and pray every single morning, and every single night I pray to my higher power, a non-religious God in my eyes. I can feel when I'm unwell spiritually. I can feel it within me. It took me about a year into my recovery to start doing a deep dive into the spirituality stuff. And my ex-boyfriend he told me about this thing called kirtan, which is like chanting mantras and dancing. Like, it's the most simple form of meditation. And I surprised him by taking him to one of those. That just opened my eyes. So spirituality. I don't know where I'd be without it. It's it does everything for me. Nature is another form of that. Deeply spiritual these days, but like anything, something that you really have to work on. It's like a relationship. You give something into it, you get something back.
Oh, for sure.
So if I don't do anything, but also it's that real annoying thing where you're going, I can't meditate because my head's too loud, but your head's too loud because you haven't meditated, and then it's like they just sit down. So yeah, I think that's going to be a massive help, having that practice whilst I'm on this track as well, being able to wake up every day, pray, meditate, and carry on going. Yeah.
Absolutely. And are you planning to sort of to be a Reiki practitioner, or is it just something that you wanted to do because you're interested in it, or is it actually going to lead on to something that you start practicing more?
I'm practicing it, yeah, more now. So I'd got attuned, so I did my Reiki 1 last summer. And then my plan was to quickly do my Reiki 2, but I had a big breakup and it sort of just swerved me off that. And then really weirdly, just after Christmas, I got a message from someone on TikTok going, "Oh, I really would love to do Reiki to you through like online." And I was like, "Great." And then I told her about I wanted to do Reiki 2 ages ago, and she said, "Oh, I can do that with you." So it was kind of like another amazing moment. So she did that, and then I'm starting to practice it more and more and incorporate it more and more. I got a retreat actually happening at the beginning of April, which I'm just doing a day retreat where it's it's the immersive poetry workshop. But it's a whole day where I do like a really nice guided meditation in the morning. We do the and I do writing exercises with poetry, and then we end with like a group Reiki. So it's like a group Reiki healing. So I'd love to do more of that. Yeah, it's something I'd love to incorporate a bit more, but kind of interweave it with creativity and nature, and sort of because in my eyes they work all together. Like I feel like healing is done through presence, poetry, and connection to nature. So trying to see how I can weave the three of those together. Yeah.
Oh, God, you're so busy. You've got it all going on.
I know. Don't know what I'm doing.
Oh dear. So as well as the walking and the Reiki and are there other forms of self-care that you like to indulge in? Is there anything that you would recommend to any of our listeners out there?
I think giving yourself permission to do nothing. I'm bad at it. I'm trying to get better at it.
Well, clearly, because you seem to be doing fucking everything.
Jack of all trades.
Yeah.
No, I think giving yourself permission to do nothing is really healthy. Yeah, I think self-care is learning, firstly, what makes you happy, because you might think, oh, I really love X, Y, Z, but is that what makes you happy, or what makes someone else happy? So I think that's what I had to relearn, being like, actually, my form of relaxation is, having a bubble bath for 2 hours and not speaking to anyone, and kind of just learning what actually, or maybe it is just watching movies with someone you love or whatever it is. So I think, yeah, self-care for me is listening to what I need, and not having to say yes to everything, not having to see people all the time. It's like it's okay to enjoy your own company and be a little hermit when you need to.
Oh, totally. And it's something that I think we're hearing a lot more of these days, is people saying it's okay to say no to stuff. Put yourself first. You don't have to please people all the time. And I saw something on Instagram earlier. It was a palm reader in Edinburgh and she was doing a little thing on Instagram. She goes, "Here's a little thing. Say no at least once today. Doesn't matter what it is, but say no to something or someone today. You'll feel a lot better for it."
100%, you will, because also the worst thing is that you say yes, and then you're like, oh my god, I said yes, and then then you put more stress on yourself because you think, how can I get out of this?
Yeah.
How can I?
What
But
lies can I tell?
I've got to the point where I'm really honest. People, I'll be like, I don't want to see you because I really don't have the energy for you, and it's nothing against you. It's like I think there is so much in pure honesty today. Being like, I can't see you because I actually just want to sit back and enjoy my own company. Like, there's something really good about it.
Totally.
I think.
And I think we also, it would be nice if everybody had that kind of vibe. But, some people can take stuff like that quite personally.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, but there has to be a bit of give and take. Do you know what I mean? If I say no, you should just be cool with that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
not everybody is, unfortunately, and that's why we kind of find ourselves saying yes to stuff we don't want to do, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. And it's actually like, well, we're all here.
Mhm.
This is our life.
Yeah.
And I think it's giving yourself permission to realize like you need to live your life to, of course, not to be an asshole. You don't want to go around being mean to everyone.
No, of course not.
But if you're doing things that are harmless to others and are going to make you happy, then why not do them?
Totally.
Like your life is to be lived because it's one that you're proud of. Not, no one's going to go to bed thinking about you tonight. Like, to be honest with you, you're going to
Yeah.
go to bed thinking about you tonight. So do whatever makes you feel good today.
There's a t-shirt quote if ever I heard one. That was brilliant. On your journey, has there been anything, like any resource or person or something in particular that was massively useful to you in your recovery?
Yes, there is. Working a 12-step program was hugely beneficial and life-changing for me. I think also just spending time with other people that are in recovery and are addicts, are recovering addicts, it was amazing for me. I think I remember like before meeting other people that had been through what I had been through, maybe not the same, but very, very, very similar. I remember being like, right, I know that I need to like put down the drink and the drugs, but then I need to go and get a brain transplant because there's something seriously wrong with me here. There's something missing, or that I need to get assessed for something really bad. There's something going on because of just the destruction that I'd caused within my life and everyone around me, like all this stuff. And then like hearing other people speak their story or like, and I was like listening to other people, like speaking to other people. And I was like, oh my God, I've done that. And I've done that. And I've done that. And then I'd say something, they go, yeah, I've done that as well. And it was suddenly like, I'm just an addict, not just an addict, but also just an addict. And if I have the capacity and give myself the capacity to get honest and get vulnerable and start sharing all these things that I've hidden for years, I might have a chance at surviving here and staying clean. And that's what worked for me, because I think up to that point, I didn't know who I was. I couldn't even look myself in the mirror because I was carrying this rucksack of secrets and lies. And as an addict, I'd told so many lies, I didn't know where they began and which ones ended.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, slowly over the years, unpacked that rucksack and now it's empty and you can sort of breathe again and go, oh my God, I don't have anything to hide anymore. And that has been purely because I've been able to be put in contact with other people that are also in recovery for addiction. Yeah, that's massively been a benefit to me, hugely.
Excellent. And now you've filled that empty rucksack with bricks.
And now I fill it with bricks. Yeah, yeah. Bricks and rice cakes. I wish I could say something a bit more delicious.
No, but you've got to have a rice cake.
You got, yeah. Now that's one for a t-shirt.
Yeah, you got to have a rice cake. So our podcast is called Mind Cake, and that kind of came from this. I didn't really register at the time, but it's nicked from Shrek, talking about people people having layers. You know, and Shrek's like, ogres are like onions or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, well, cakes have layers. So,
I love it.
So like the initial way of thinking was like, because everybody's different, everybody's got different layers of stuff, like a cake. So we're trying to ask everybody that we get on, in an ideal world, someone puts a slice of cake down in front of you. Mm-hmm. What is that piece of cake?
Metaphorically or real cake?
No, literally. Like, well, it could be metaphorically. Like, you could describe a cake that you've never eaten but would like to eat.
Okay, so it's a literal, like, my favorite slice of cake.
Yeah.
Oh. Do you know what I love? I love a good carrot cake.
Oh, yeah, good choice.
So it would be like, but where it's got like that really nice, like buttercream.
Mm-hmm. It's the best bit. It's the best bit.
It's the best bit. And do you know what? I'm vegan. There's so many good vegan carrot cakes out that you wouldn't even know. It's always good, and I always love it when they normally have like a little, like a carrot icing, like
Yeah, the
little
little
figure of a
carrots.
carrot.
Yeah.
Makes me so happy. I love it, but not. I don't want one that has like sultanas in it or anything. I don't have anything against sultanas, but just get out my carrot cake.
Yeah,
Um,
they don't belong. They don't belong anywhere.
you don't belong there. It would have to be a really good, yeah, good.
Perhaps with that, the icing that you get on top, perhaps that layered through the middle as well.
Oh, 100%. It has to be
Yeah,
layered through the middle. Yeah,
because
yeah,
otherwise it's too dry, isn't it?
yeah. You need a good wedge of it in there in the middle. 100%.
Oh well, you heard it here first, folks. Carrot cake,
I'll
Kit.
suddenly get carrot cake coming through my my
Yeah.
letterbox, hopefully.
So that was actually what we were going to do right at the start of this was set up a PO box and get our listeners to send us cake, and it's just never happened.
You have to do it.
I'm still disappointed that it's not happened. And Lee, over the last, I don't know, year or so, Lee is the one who gets cake because he's done more kind of in-person interviews than I have.
Oh,
And because it's mind cake, they give him cake, and I don't ever get any of it. Do you know what I mean? So
this is disappointing. We
it
need to
is
change it. We need to change
absolutely.
that. Spread the word.
Now, this is your moment to plug the shit out of everything that you've got going on for our listeners. And you do so much.
Yeah.
So over to you. And if you miss anything out, I'll try and remind you because I've been trying to make notes as we're going.
Let's go. Let's start with the trek.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you want to donate to the charities, there's a Just Giving page. At the moment, all the money would just be going directly to Calm as ADHD is trying to get onto Just Giving. So all of the money donated through the Just Giving page will go directly to the charities. There is a GoFundMe, which is the crowdfunder to help make Strive Beyond Silence possible. And yeah, if you contribute towards that, that's where you will get your name on a wall of support, name on the tent, and a personalized poem. Well, a copy of a poem with a personal message on it. Yeah, I have got online workshops happening with all my poetry every other weekend, which you can find through my social media pages. And I've got a retreat happening, a 1-day retreat happening in the first weekend of April on the Saturday, where we'll do meditation, Reiki, and immersive poetry workshop. And that can be found. It's called Earth and Ink. And were you going to be putting the links in the?
Yeah, we'll put it on our link tree as well.
Oh, great! I don't have to worry. So it'll be found in the link tree. So yeah, that's called Earth and Ink, and come along. I'd love to meet you guys. And my book.
The book, yes.
That's probably one of the bigger ones. So yeah, my book will be coming out in about 6 weeks' time. It's looking like, fingers crossed, and that is called Burnt Toast. Burnt Toast by Kit Birks, and it's going to be available through my social media platforms, but it'll also be available on in Waterstones. It will be available on Amazon. It will be available on all big book shops and bookstores, not only in the UK but all over the world. So, yeah, I think that's all my plugging.
Excellently done. Is that your first time plugging?
Yeah, it was.
Wow, you did a very good job.
Great.
Where can people find you? Because you're very active on Instagram and TikTok. Are those the two main places that people can find you if they want to follow your journey?
I post a lot more on TikTok just because of the following I have in there. But if you want to follow me on TikTok, please do. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, I'm going to be sharing my journey on there. And I will start to get a bit better on YouTube as well. But with the trek, it'll be shared across all of my social media platforms as well.
Excellent. I think I subscribed to your YouTube earlier. If not, I will do that again or make sure I did do it.
I need to start posting on there more. It's weird though, because YouTube is the one place I started posting on, and the only place I've got negative comments.
Really?
It's a brutal. Yeah. I haven't had it before.
I guess, well, if you're doing any sort of content creation, you need to have a thick skin because people are dicks, man. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, I think I've been so blessed with the fact that all of my followers so far are just nothing but kind, supportive, and lovely. And so I went onto YouTube being like, well, this is great, especially with the track coming up, better. And I think it all happened because the what was happening in America with TikTok being taken away. They're like, we don't want to do Meta, so have you got YouTube? So I was like, okay, I'll get YouTube. And then I got some negative comments, which was like not too bad, but I was a bit like, oh, I realised that there are dickheads out there. But anyway,
Yes, but that is the world we live in, isn't it?
it is.
Kit, thank you so much for giving up a bit of time to talk to us this evening. Your journey is inspiring, and it's wonderful stuff that you are doing, and I wish you all the luck and love in the world for what you've got coming up. Will you come back on at some point and talk to us again? Maybe I don't know if we could do it while you were doing your trek.
Absolutely, I'd love that. Yeah, it'd be
Oh,
great to have a check-in. Yeah.
We could get you maybe
Halfway up a mountain or
yeah, but I think we'll wait till you're out of the Arctic tundra. Maybe we'll get you where you're somewhere calm and civilized and not
maybe
fending off
in
polar bears
Rome.
and shit. Yeah, we'll do a Christmas Day podcast from
Christmas,
Rome, shall we?
perfect.
You can rub it in. Yeah, nice one.
No, thank you so much for having me. Generally, it's been so lovely. So really enjoyed it. So
Great.
thank you.
The pleasure is ours. Thank you once again.
Paul, it was quite the chat. What?
Yes.
Having listened to it back, what's your takeaway thoughts?
Lots of stuff, really. I mean, first of all, just talking to her about her experiences and what she's been through. What is really, I suppose, eye-opening is just how kind of honest she is about what she's been through. You know, she's very honest about her addiction and her recovery, not just with us, but like across her social media. That's why she's sort of become an advocate on Instagram and TikTok, because she does speak quite openly about everything.
Mm-hmm.
But then, hearing kind of like all the dark stuff that she went through to what she's doing now with her record-breaking hike attempt. I mean, you can't help but be inspired by someone with that kind of, I don't know, commitment to the cause of mental health, I suppose, And her book will be, I don't know if her book is actually out at the time of recording. When we interviewed her, she said it was 6 weeks till her poetry book was coming out. I don't think it's been quite 6 weeks since we interviewed her, but if it's not out already, do keep your peepers peeled for that, because it'll definitely be worth a read, I would say.
Yeah, she kind of jumped the queue, didn't she, in episodes, in that we wanted to get it out before she started her
trek. So trekking from the most northern part of Europe to the most southern part.
Mm.
So from somewhere in Norway to a Greek island, if I remember rightly. But so our trek begins in July, but we did want to get it up and out there and, give our fundraising pages a bit of a plug so we can try and raise a bit of cash for her before she goes on this epic journey. So she did skip the queue somewhat. But yeah, it was lovely. It was lovely spending. I think we chatted for almost a couple of hours, actually, before everything was kind of edited down into what you've just heard. But it was a lovely way to spend an evening. If you are listening and you want to support her, I would definitely encourage you to do that. So you can find Kit Birks on Instagram and TikTok if you do those sorts of things. And I'm sure we will put her links in the show notes or link tree or whatever. So you will be able to find them.
Yes, I will obviously do it tonight, because we are actually recording this on the eve of the episode drop. So I've got a busy night. I'm going to edit this and do the show notes. Yes, but very, like you say, from a very, what could be construed, what is a dark tale. A lot of positivity and a lot of, I say, when John suggested it, I had a look at her Instagram, and it's very honest. It's very raw. And yeah, I think that very much comes across when you spoke to her. So yes, a good episode. And yes, we shall follow her progress. Hopefully we can have another chat with her as she gets nearer the challenge.
Yeah, we actually even said in the episode if while she's doing the challenge, we can maybe get her on when she's, like bored and lonely halfway up a mountain or something. We could get her on for a little chat. Might cheer her up
Why
a
would
bit.
she be up a mountain though?
Because she's going all over lots of different terrain. She's going through like jungle and mountain and
Would you not
coastal.
just
And
pick the flattest route?
I don't know. I didn't organize it.
Just put it on Google Maps and just could. I tell you who'd know.
Who?
Rachel.
Rachel.
Rachel. AI
Who's Rachel?
Rachel. Rachel, my best
Yeah.
friend.
Oh, your best mate.
Could you
How's she
tell me
doing?
the flattest route between point A and point B, please, Rachel? And she'd be more than happy to oblige.
Yes, Lee, my best friend.
Well, do you know what? Gemma's coming round to the idea of Rachel.
Oh, is she?
Oh, yeah. She said a few answers recently. I've read out a few of Rachel's answers. She's going, oh, maybe you should ask her XYZ.
Mm.
Frightening. Following my wonderful writer's retreat in the Shepherd's Hut overlooking Ben Nevis, I have decided to repurpose this our summer house. We have a summer house.
Not me and Lee, just to be clear.
Separate houses,
Cromptons.
separate beds.
Yeah.
Sometimes. So I'm redecorating in there. I've repurposed that there is a bar with optics and a dartboard and whatever. I've repurposed that so it's now desk height.
Ooh. Would this be the Devil's Pulpit?
The Devil's Pulpit, yes.
Oh. The hottest bar in Croftamy.
Very much so. Or it was before I chopped it down and made it into a desk.
Yeah.
So yes, it's now a dark green, and I've still got bits and pieces to do in there. But podcasts might be coming from there as well. If I can get internet signal out there, that could be my little writers/podcasting den.
Ooh. Do you think just kind of having that separation from the, because if you work from home, like having a workspace or a write, like would you work from home in that as well as write, or would it be purely for the creative?
No, I'd probably work from home in there as well if I could get a decent signal.
Mm-hmm. But it's nice to have that separation from home and work, isn't it?
Yeah.
Even though you're working from home, that trip to the summer house,
To the end of the garden.
it's like a journey to work, and you keep your home life separate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I
It's
cannot
like
wait. I'm dead excited to get in there and start being creative and yeah, because I've got my impetus now. You've seen that I've got two I've got to get this wrapped up, Paul, because I've got to do a video. I've got to do two videos.
Oh,
So you'll have seen, obviously, I don't know how else has seen, that I've got two 1-pagers into the semi-finals of a script writing competition. There's only six.
I was going to bring that up.
Well, there's only six left. There's only 6 scripts left in, 2 of which are mine in the semi-finals.
Yeah. So you've got better odds at winning than the rest of them.
I'm
You've
going to
only
be
got one thing.
absolutely gutted if if one of them doesn't make it to the final. I've got a 1 in 3 chance to be. Yeah, what is that right? Isn't it? Yeah, 1 in 3.
Because it's 2 and 6, and then
2
you
and
break
6,
that
yeah,
down.
that's
It's 1
right,
in
yeah.
3. Yeah,
He's the master.
Or 3 to 1 odds.
Yeah. So
of reaching the final. Yes, for sure.
Of reaching the final, not necessarily winning. So anyway, as a result of it, I think they announced the finalists this weekend.
Oh.
So
okay.
I need to do a 5-minute pitch, obviously times 2, because I've got 2 of the buggers still left in.
Tough at the top.
I've got it's tough at the top. So I've got to do a 5-minute pitch for each of the scripts. So
this is where you just get to expand on the 1-pager and just go into a bit more detail about the character arc or episode.
I don't really know. I don't really know. I'm going to tell them in a 5-minute pitch that isn't already on the 1-page summary.
Can you go into a bit more detail, like of stuff that would be in a show bible, like stuff it's similar to your target audience, like that kind of shit?
Yeah, but that's kind of in the 1-pager as well. So I don't know.
Maybe they just maybe want to hear you talk before they make a decision and go, I like this guy. I like the cut of his jib. He sounds like he's a podcast master with that voice.
Well, I'm gonna introduce myself as a writer and podcaster for
Mhm.
one of them, and
Yes.
then the other one, if they don't like me, because I think you're right in do they like you as a person? Do they like you as a personality in terms of is this someone that some people could work with within the industry? So rather than putting all my eggs in the Lee Crompton basket, I'm
Mm.
going to do one as me, and I'm going to do the other one as Elmo Pickles.
I'm so glad you said that because I was like, please, please be that. That's where he's going with this.
Yeah, yeah.
Hello, my darling. Here's my
Hello,
screenplay.
darling. It's me, writer and broadcaster Elmo Pickles. I'm going to tell you about a little script I wrote. Oh, you're going to like it so much. Yeah,
He gets my vote every day.
exactly. Yeah, but the trouble is, if Elmo then wins the competition, and I have to go
You,
collect my award as Elmo Pickles.
you got to put the glasses and the hat
Yeah,
and everything
woolly
on.
hat on and the glasses. Yeah, bottle top glasses. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, well, good luck. Good luck
Hey,
with that, dude. I
thanks
mean,
very
that's
much.
it's impressive to even get to that stage and to have two out of all the,
Mm,
you know, um, all the thousands. Let's be honest, it'll be thousands of people that have entered that.
hmm
And you entered twice, and both of them have got to that stage. So that is impressive work, old chum.
Thank you very much. Yes, because I was on a bit of a Debbie Down. I think that's just the whole thing about going back to the summer house and making that creative space. Because that we're not talking about mental health, but for me, you are talking about mental health because that is how I unwind and that's how I, yeah,
Yeah,
relax, I guess.
that's your
That's
thing.
that's
That's
my
your thing.
thing. And I think having had kind of gone all around the houses, eventually had the script obviously optioned by, I don't know whether I've said this on the podcast. I haven't named names, I don't think, but um James Corden's production company optioned the script.
Hmm.
That all then was in development for 12 months and then fell through. And then more recently, I don't know if I mentioned that Tiger Aspect were very interested in the script, and that looked like it might be going somewhere. And then they sent me a very nice email to say, look, unfortunately, we really like the script, but it's too close to something we've already got in development. So again, the rug was kind of pulled, and I'm just thinking this is just it's I say tough. It's all relative, isn't it? It's not we're not living in the Ukraine, but it's just
Hmm.
when it's your thing and how you self-identify and you've been trying to knock on the door for 20, 30 years that so yeah, no,
No,
it'd
totally.
be good to
But
just
you're
have
getting
that.
closer
I
every
think
time you get a little bit
I
closer, though.
think
Do you know what
so.
I mean?
I think so. Um and now obviously the play's written as well.
Yeah, which
I've had
I'm still to read a copy.
I've
You've
had
still
some
to send me a copy.
yes, I had some feedback today from my script editor. So
Sweet.
I will work on that, and then as soon as I've made those amendments, I will send it to you. And mind matters. You heard it here first, folks. A mental health
Mind.
play.
Cold mind matters, mate.
Mind matters. So if it ever comes to a theatre near you, I I wouldn't bother. But um,
Especially because I'll be in it.
oh yeah, probably yeah, probably Paul will be in it. Yeah, that's one of my caveats to anyone who wants to produce
Yeah,
it.
because I cannot do Shark in the Park for much longer. That
Is it you're
that
getting too
beautiful.
old? You
I'm
mentioned this
getting.
last time. You get too old for that shit.
I am, mate. Honestly, I've had a couple of days off. I'm back out on the road on Wednesday, so in a couple of days, and my body is just fucked. There's no other
Mhm.
way to describe it. It is. I am just a shell, a husk of the specimen I was.
But do you think that's due to the number of shows rather than the physicality of the shows?
No, I think. Well, it's maybe both. I mean,
Are
I
you
have
jumping
been
around a
doing
bit?
it.
I don't think
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
seen. Yeah, are you? I
yeah.
think
Honestly, man,
Erin's seen you, hasn't she? But I don't think was I there?
I don't. I can't remember. No, did she come with Gemma? I can't remember now. I'm sure if you'd been there,
No, because you were doing the whole Elvis thing, weren't you?
yeah, and you didn't see it.
No, I didn't
You
see
would have
that.
been at work if it was over the Easter holidays or something. You would have been working. So
Oh, that doesn't normally stop me.
yeah. Um, but yeah, I do a lot of running about, and yeah, I just
Mm. Do you wear
I
a
think my
do you wear a Garmin or anything? How many steps you do? I mean, when you do like
no,
6 shows a day or something ridiculous.
it was 3 shows a day we were doing down in Birmingham. Well, sort of a combination, either 3 or 2 shows a day, but that's a lot.
Hmm.
Like the show's an hour long, but you're doing like essentially a 3 hour kids show. It's like by the end of the day, you are absolutely done in.
You got to
You
keep the
start
energy up.
your first show's at 10:30. You're done by sort of 5 o'clock. It's a full day at work
Hmm.
doing this. Yeah, it's tough, man.
But
I
being
used to
full
have,
of energy and
yeah,
yeah.
the whole time. You can't do that show by half measures. You've got to be
Hmm.
like giving it loudly the whole time. I used to have one of those little Fitbits, the old fashioned, like the wee skinny ones,
Hmm.
like that were popular back in the day. So I could unclip that from its strap, and I'd just put the little Fitbit in my pocket of my costume, so you couldn't notice it because I couldn't wear the Fitbit in the
Yeah.
show. So I used to be able to track my steps, like from arriving at a theater, loading the set, doing the shows, blah blah blah. And by the end of the day, you've done like 30,000 steps or something.
Hmm.
But I've never done a 3 show day until last week. So,
Probably done a marathon, mate.
oh mate. But we were staying in Chinatown in Birmingham, so whatever I burnt off definitely went back on.
And chicken chow
Having,
mein.
having lovely Chinese food.
Hmm.
Oh, it was fabulous, fabulous. But I digress.
We're going to run out of. I've got a whole list of things here that we're not going to have time to get through.
Yes, let's get through some of it.
Right? Do you want to? Right, I'll rush through as quickly as possible. First of all, I
Mm-hmm.
want one sentence answers because we haven't got time for all this shit. Right?
Okay,
First of all,
right.
guess who rang me the other day out of the blue to say hello? How are you? Not been in touch. Ian McNabb.
Mr. Ian McNabb
He's back.
called you on the phone.
He called me on the phone. He's been incognito for a while, and he's been sorting himself out, but he's doing all right now. And he's re-listening to the podcast, and he was up to the episode in the summer when it was on the eve of the Euros, and you were very, very upbeat about Scotland and the opening game against Germany, and you had a good feeling. And
Oh
so
God,
he's
yeah.
just how did that go?
We've all got Google. I'll leave it to the audience just to
Hmm.
find that out for themselves because it's still quite a touchy subject for me.
So
Not going to lie.
he's back.
Good. We've missed him.
Summer House, we've spoken about. John Hannah, we've spoken about. Burials. Going on to burials. There's a bloke, a gardener on Instagram
Hmm.
who I don't know whether I don't know whether he's an actual gardener, whether he's like a comedy gardener. I don't know, but he's quite funny.
Comedy Gardner.
No, well, you know what I mean. I don't know whether he's a person pretending to be that's his vehicle for comedy.
Oh, I see.
I think he's actually. I think he's a genuine gardener. But he happened to pop up on my feed. Did John Hannah send me that as well? Don't know. That if you were to bury someone in your back garden,
Hmm.
or presumably more than one body in your back garden, you then become a cemetery. It's then designated as a cemetery, and you don't have to pay tax, council tax, presumably. Whether that's true or
Oh.
not, I don't know. And the other thing, if you haven't seen any of my Instagram posts, then this won't make any sense. But there was a point I was making that what was the point I was making? Yes, if you were buried, you can bury like relatives or whatever in your back garden
Hmm.
if you own the land or private land if you could have the landowner's permission. However, if you were to do it in your own house and then you moved out, the person who moved in, well, first of all, it could obviously lessen the price of your property if you've got people buried in the back garden. And secondly, they could have you exhumed.
Oh, okay.
So this gardener has put a post out to stop you. I think it's if you, I think he was thinking more if you've murdered somebody. She's a good plot line for a script.
Mm-hmm.
Put protected species of flower or whatever over the top of the grave, then they
and
can't.
they can't. That's clever. Just if there's anybody listening to this, podcast for the first time right now, there is a context to all the stuff that we're talking about here.
Yeah, we're not just thinking about burying
randomly
people in the back garden.
Yeah, there has been previous discussions about said topic on earlier episodes. Go and have a listen if you haven't done so.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's interesting because I never thought about the ramifications. If you leave the house, you have to declare to the people moving in that there's a corpse in the garden.
Yeah, you can't just bury.
And they can go, well, we don't want it there, so get rid of it.
Apparently, you can get which is the reason why, although it's not yet legal in this country, I would like to be composted, please.
Yes,
and then
the tax implications as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to Google that before the next episode because I think that's bullshit.
That's good to know. It's good.
Have we got time to play Carrie's message? Do you know where it is? Well, are we going to do that next time?
I can do it now. Hang on.
Oh my God. Oh, having a proper senior moment. Even though I'm like 45, how can I still not use this? Yeah, I think I've worked it out now. It's not the same as WhatsApp. It's different. But anyway, God, I think I forgot what I was going to say now in the stress of just trying to record myself to leave a message. I think I just need to go to bed now. That was really, really stressful and not good for my mind at all. If I remember what I was going to say, I'll get back to you if I can, if I work out how to do it again.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So,
but hang on, was there not a couple of messages before that where she's just kind of?
Yeah, but I can't play them because they're like 0 seconds long because she was trying to record stuff but couldn't. And then we're replying, going, "What are you trying to say?" She sent us a message, and it had taken her so long to figure out how to record the message, she'd forgotten what she wanted to say.
Mm-hmm. That's the caliber of listeners we've got, Paul.
Yeah, that's
family members. It's only family members who contact us, and when they do contact us, they can't remember what they wanted to say.
Yeah, that's the kind of shit we have to wade through.
Mm-hmm.
And I say wade, I mean paddle.
Yeah, I mean
paddle, I mean, glance at.
Well, but you say that's like the emerald in the cow dung, because the cow dung is the spam, right? That's like that's like top of the pyramid. Is Carrie can't remember what the question? Did she ever get back to us with an actual question?
Possibly.
Right back. I've worked it out. I've got it. I'm techno genius.
Jesus Christ.
So what I was going to say, listen to your episode today, guys. Oh my God, amazing. I didn't realise you were both on here, by the way. Usually I just use voicemail messages. That's not even right.
I'm just going to pause that for a sec. You can see where this bloody rambling tangent it runs in the Crompton family, doesn't it? Right. Let's go back. Hang on.
Voice note messages, usually for Liam, but you're both here, so that's ace. So I wanted to report back on my thinking about this episode. First of all, oh my God, that man is so clever. It scares me a little bit with his intellect.
Which guy was this?
It could be any of them.
Okay.
Amazing, but not very magical. I drop points on the magical front for me. No mystique or science-based. I do love science, but
Ian Wallace dreams.
Ah, yes.
No magic at all. Zero magic. So yeah, he loses points there, but lots of interesting things that kind of go against the sort of stuff that I really into, like the collective consciousness, and a few things I need to question. Like,
sorry, there's another 45 seconds. Are we still going?
No, yeah. just leave it there because no, we get the general gist. And you can see why you're her favorite, because you both love that shit, don't you?
Spiritual stuff, yeah.
Yeah. I've started editing the episode that we did with John Koenig. I'm not gonna say no more. I'm gonna leave that there.
That
You and
I
Carrie are gonna
love
have a
that
big
episode.
loving. He messaged the other day to find out when his episode was coming out because he wants to tell his followers.
Oh,
So
excellent.
I said, "Well, I'm
Excellent.
editing it, John, so you can have it tomorrow if you want. It's not on Paul's list to do, so
Yeah. Because
probably
you'll get it
sooner
in
rather than
3
later."
to 6 working months. Right. Anything else? What else? Go on. Quick fire. Quick fire.
Oh no, that's it. I don't. We've got to do email. Have we had any emails? We have had an email, haven't we? Have we had an email? Do your
Hang on.
housekeeping while you check the emails. Come on, Paul.
Okay. So if you want to email us, you can find us at sliceofmindcake@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram at Mindcake Podcast, and you can find us on Facebook if you search for Mindcake.
What if you want to leave us a voice message?
Then don't, because it's really difficult to work,
Mm.
apparently.
Emails
You got an invoice?
from who?
Furuya Hajime.
Oh, him. He's a friend of the show.
Yeah. And that's it.
Oh, okay. What's the invoice? Actually, don't open it. Whatever it is, don't open the
not.
invoice.
I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's legitimate. So there we are. So Carrie was the highlight of our listener feedback. We've only got a couple of minutes to go, so thank you very much for listening.
Yes, and go and sponsor Kit Birks, please. Do it right
Yes.
now.
And eat chocolate responsibly for Easter. That wasn't sorry, the general statement. I meant Easter's coming, eat chocolate. We should eat, yes, just any time of the year, eat chocolate responsibly.
Yeah. Happy Easter, everyone. Peace out.
Peace out.
Let's start a podcast about our mental health for no good reason why. Let's call it Mind Cake.
Oh, we have fun, don't we?
Oh, we do. We've only got 10 listeners, but it doesn't matter, does it?